Hey guys, Michael here. You guys have asked a lot of good questions, and let's get started with the first question. First question, how do you interpret certain messages or impressions you get when you're reading somebody? Now, using the examples that this person gave, like A, are they actually pregnant? B, are they trying for a baby? C, is a family member slash relative who is pregnant? This is an example of like a lot of different things that are going on here of what it actually could be that you're picking up, but how do you work out what you're actually picking up and what is the true answer? Now, most of this is going to come with experience over time when you're reading somebody and getting what the actual truth of the message that you're feeling or you're getting. But what you could do to narrow this down is you could look at the fourth auritic layer, the astral layer to be specific, because the astral layer actually contains the relationship cords that bind both parent and child. And this also contains all the cords that bind like family and friends together, lovers, spouses, and so on. So what you'll do is you'll actually find the spirit and you'll trace that cord, and if it goes to the mother, then you have your answer. It's going to the mother. Now, that's just one of the things you could do to work that out, to find out who it belongs to. Now, for actually if they're going to have a baby, well, this is where it kind of gets tricky. When you do medical-based readings, like with pregnancies and so on, be really careful with this because legally you can get into a lot of trouble with this, so exercise caution if you decide to go into this reading. And that's all I'm going to say on this, just for the caution with this. Second question. So I'm a theta practitioner. Over a period of time, I've noticed that quite a few times when I connect to the creator of all that is, sometimes the connection does not get established. And since we are not the judge of the answers that come to us, as we say to the client, though I've noticed sometimes we don't connect only. Why is this, and how can we decipher if we have connected or not? When you are trying to establish the connection to the creator, the best way to know if you are connected is by taking a look at the source spark within you, as I like to call it. Now, this spark rests deep in your soul, right about here. And what you'll notice when it's active, you'll kind of almost sense like a huge bloom of heat kind of rising through you. And like when you speak, everything's going to kind of flow like a river of words. You'll feel it go very much through the throat chakra, and everything's going to flow out as you speak. And it's going to be kind of like, almost like your head's almost filled, almost kind of like with a cloud of intelligence is the best way I can describe it. And this will kind of, go straight out through the crown, and it will just feel like things are coming right down and just almost coming right into your head, and it's almost like realizations as they flow in. Now, when you feel the source spark within you, it's going to kind of feel like a lot of understanding, intelligence, and something that goes far deeper than love. And like I said, you're just going to have to sense that when you go and connect with that personally down right here in your core, where your soul lies. And that's the best answer I've got for you. That is how you know when you're connected to the creator. And also, as some helpful stuff with this, also have that best interest in that person. Help them because you want to, and nothing else. Nothing else at all. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to connect that spark that connects you to the creator. Question 3. What is your opinion on the shift and humanity? I'm actually really glad this one was actually brought up. Reason being is this is actually a huge question because a lot of people don't realize what the shift is actually doing. Like, the shift is very good. It's raising awareness of in ourselves and what's happening within ourselves, our spirits and everything else. But there is a side effect. like any new psychic that's coming into the field or during Mercury retrograde, things get shaken up. And here's what I mean. Within a person exists a number of blocks, like let's say there's some down here, here, or even, like a line that connects into another block up here, here, and here. And what these mean is, like, when the energy starts bombarding, okay, actually let's use a blue marker here. When the energy starts bombarding here, all this new energy starts bombarding the energy body, what's going to happen is these blocks are going to start being shaken up. So they're going to be shaken all up. And this is what happens during Mercury retrograde in the first place. Alright, so they're being shaken up. And, in some cases, if the energy is strong enough, it can, it can pretty much, it seems like they're gone. Alright? But when in fact they really aren't. What happens though is there's almost like a little bit of a root left. Like, let's see, there's a little bit of a root left. And after the higher energy has gone through, or you can even get used to your system after a while, and the block will just adapt, will grow back. And with all this higher energy in your system constantly, what begins to happen is these blocks are constantly disturbed. And I want you to think of a block as pretty much it's like a layer that separates between you and actually being something where you're feeling it. So this can often be where someone suppresses a memory or a bit about themselves. It kind of feels dead, like it's cut off from them. So in a way, it's like somebody took their arm and broke it, and now it's in a cast. But now that cast is on there, but the arm is not healing, so the arm remains disjointed. And so, in essence, what's happened to that person is, since it's disjointed and that person's not healing it, and that high energy is constantly bombarding the block, and it's gotten used to it, it puts that person in a constant state of pain. And so, what it forces that person to do, since the block is being repeatedly brought up, like when the high energy vibrates it, it actually brings that block up into that person's life, like you see in Mercury retrograde, where all the crap that you thought that you usually keep down, it actually comes back up, and you actually have to deal with it now. So that's what it's actually doing. And so the shift is a very good thing, but in the process, what happens to a lot of people is they don't end up dealing with their crap, and it's going to cause a lot of pain for them. So, there's a lot of healing techniques out there, but the main thing you want to do is you want to go to the source of the block, what caused the trauma, and go from there. You don't necessarily have to go and confront the person that can cause that trauma to you in the first place or whatever. The key here is actually going within the energy system and addressing itself. And there's a number of ways you can do this. One of the ways I use is I'll center myself, and for those of you that are familiar with my channel, I feel the energy within me, and that's how I've trained. And I also use visualization, but you'll travel down within yourself, and it's kind of like your perception changes. And I'll get to have a conversation with the block, and then we'll begin to heal the block together. So for me, a number of years ago, I had a relationship that didn't turn out so well, and it turned out horribly. And what happened is that block was stuck in an infinite loop of itself in that constant pain. And blocks do this because they separate themselves off from you, so you aren't feeling the pain for a bit. But eventually that causes problems, and they try to resurge, and if they continue to be ignored, it can cause problems, and even chronic problems that can lead to disease, frozen shoulders, or even what's another one? Chronic fatigue is another one I've seen, and much more. There's a lot of things that can happen from not addressing these blocks. So you really, really do want to address them, and please, please don't just like go to a healer and just tell them to get rid of them, because what that does, you only scrape the root off, and that's it. Well, you only scrape the top of the plant off, so to speak. You don't actually get the root, which will grow back. And oftentimes I see in a lot of classes, like, there's constant positivity, but there's no work being done on the self of that trauma. And so that person just gets worse and worse, and they even go into depression. Like, I've seen it where, like, why do people cut themselves? Well, because they actually want to feel something, so they cut themselves to feel something rather than feel nothing. Because they constantly put themselves and block parts of themselves off where now in a lot of places they don't feel anything, and it sucks, and they hate it, and they don't want to feel that way, so they try to feel something. But on with my story. I talked to my younger self in that time, and I comforted myself, and we began to heal. And it took some time, a couple sessions, but eventually it really worked, and like the pain was transformed, and I felt a lot better, and I felt I had grown in a lot of ways. So keep that in mind as you do this work, that it's not always all just fluffy stuff. Like, a lot of times you'll run into blood, sadness, tears, anger, and everything else, but the key here is dealing with it instead of just stuffing it all down. That is just going to come back and bite you. So during Mercury retrograde, during these shifts, work on yourself, and things will go a lot easier for you. Anyways, I'm sorry that I went off on a bit on that question, but it was really important, and it really needs to be addressed. And if you have any more questions about it, put them in the comments below. Anyways, let's get on to the next question. Question 4. Do you believe in the human Akashic Records, and how does this work, and what are your views on this? Now, I really like this question, so this one's going to be one of my favorite to answer here. Alright, now I want you to imagine something, okay? I'm going to draw you guys a picture. Alright, now let's say these little layers here are dimensions, alright? Like, and that's how it is. Like, reality is basically these dimensions layered on top of each other, and they all kind of coexist within kind of like the same area, but on different planes, so to speak. It's kind of weird, I know, but believe me, it's kind of interesting. So, like, when you go traveling off into one direction, it kind of feels like you're really far from your body. But if you're in the same dimension, you only feel like you've gone laterally. But when you, like, rise to the dimensions, you feel like you go up, but you're still kind of feeling like you're in the same space, but you're actually feeling like you've gone higher. You're kind of like, it's kind of like you're looking over the top of a high building or a cliff. But yeah, that's the best way I can tell you what that's like. But anyways, back to the Akashic Record question. Alright, so each of these dimensions here are like stairs, alright? And each part of the Akashic Records is just like a layer of a library. And you actually will hear Teal Scott talk about the same thing too. And each of these little spots is just another level to the library. And this isn't just the human Akashic Records. This is the Akashic Records for a specific place. So when I was talking about when you go laterally in this direction, this is actually where my point was coming from. Like, it kind of feels like in some places the records kind of thin out, and then they get really busy over in another area. So it's kind of weird when you actually go into these library, because it's like it extends in quite a few interesting directions, honestly. So yes, the Akashic Records absolutely do exist, and you can get a lot of really good information from them. And if you were wondering, how do I get to the library? Alright, well, okay, I'm not going to explain dimensional travel in this video, but basically all you do is The Akashic Library has a specific signal to it, and it's kind of like you're sensing for the frequency of like this dimension, but in a very like high frequency. Well, okay, maybe frequency is not the word for it, but a very strong signal. And so it's broadcasting that signal and that frequency way out over there. And so when you go towards that place, you're at the library, and that's how you get to it. And that's the best way I can like describe it, how I get to it. You know, some people may get there differently. Some may go through portals or whatever. I just travel right to it, and that's how I do it. I used to do portals a lot, but hey, I just decided to, just go travel there just because I wanted to see the sights on the way. But anyways, let's get on to the next question. Question 5. I know one of my life's purposes, but I feel like there is more that I am supposed to accomplish. How do I find out what that is? Or is it a way life purposes? This is a really great question. And I actually did a bit of a series on this where you found your full identity. But on to this question. How do you find out what your life purpose is? What you can do is, like, you can ask your heart every day, like your heart center, and you can say, what do you want to show me today? Or what can I do to find my life's purpose? A more direct question. And, watch throughout the day and it will give you little subtle hints. And, take on those hints and follow them. And you'll be led in that direction to where you will find your life's purpose. And, it may seem like, oh, this is my life's purpose. We're going there. But like it can change a little bit. And, there's more to it. And it's going to show you a lot of cool things like throughout. So, go for it. It's like a new day. It's like Christmas every day when you go and find your life's purpose. And you can be still learning after a while. But asking that heart center is one of the best ways to find your life's purpose. So if you have any more questions about that, put them in the comments and let me know.